It's letting you know that it's a moving star.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just simple.
So I'm going to read it again. Matthew chapter 2, verse 9. When they had heard the king, they departed. And lo, the star, which they saw in the east, went before them till it came and stood over where the young child was.
Right, and that's why the planets, which are moving stars, they were given names because they gave direction, and that's how you read signs. They knew Yahweh. They were searching for Yahweh Shah. That's why they came into Bethlehem. But then what happened? I mean, not Bethlehem. That's why they came in that area. But then when they lost their direction, they just followed the stars.
Mm-hmm.
They followed the stars, which was the planets that moved, and it came. That's what I said. It fell right over where the child was born.
Mm-hmm.
And the Hebrew is not going to say planet; it's going to say kawakab, which means star.
Mm-hmm.
See, like I said, the white stars don't move. They're always going to be in the same place at night all the time.
Right.
The North Star is not going to be in the east.
Mm-hmm.
Only the stars that have the color and different features to them, like the rings on Saturn and stuff like that. Only those stars move. That's why they were given names, and that's why the heathen worshipped them, because they knew they can read things through those stars. You understand?
What scripture was we at before this?
Ecclesiasticus 43:6, and then Genesis 1:18 still.
Ecclesiasticus or Genesis?
So go back to Ecclesiasticus, but hold Genesis.
All right. Ecclesiasticus chapter 43, verse 6.
Right.
He made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of
So it
times.
says that the season that the moon serves in is what? The nighttime. Right? That's the season that the moon serves in. And it says a sign for the world. Right? It says a declaration of times, I'm sorry.
And a sign of the world.
So when it says a declaration of times, what is it talking about when it's saying a declaration of times? That's how you get your days of the month. That's how you get your years. You see what I'm saying? A declaration of times and a sign of the world. What's one of the biggest signs of the world at the moon that happened involving the moon?
The full moon.
No.
It's solar eclipse?
Not a solar eclipse. We're talking about the moon.
The biggest what? Say the question again.
Okay. Let me make myself clearer. When it said a sign of the world, a particular event happened with the moon, and it was a great event in the earth. No,
An eclipse is solar.
no.
It said it turn to blood.
Huh?
It said it's supposed to turn.
Something that happened already or supposed to happen.
I'm sorry. Slot. It wasn't an eclipse. I'm sorry.
Oh, it was the clip.
Oh, it wasn't an eclipse?
No, I'm thinking about something else. No, it wasn't an eclipse. It was an eclipse. And what happened? What happens with an eclipse is
Everything goes dark.
everything goes dark.
Okay.
So
Forget about Egypt? When
No.
it turned?
no, that wasn't an eclipse. That was just
It
darkness.
was a major one. What was it?
No,
Something that happened every how often?
something happened with the moon and the sun, and it was a major event.
You talking about that happened just like recently, right?
No,
Oh, I know when there was an eclipse with one of the prophets you're talking about, right? When he prayed and it turned black?
Mm-mm.
There was.
come on now.
I'm looking for it right now. I'm about to pull it.
Wait.
You got it.
You know which one I'm talking about, though, right?
But you're wrong. I know what you're talking about, but you're still wrong. I know what you're clearly talking about, but you're still wrong.
Hold on. I'm about
But
to
it
find
didn't
it.
turn dark with that prophet? When he had prayed and he lifted up his arm, it didn't turn dark?
Okay.
Okay, I give up. I'll listen to see which one it is. Mind your business, dude.
Hold on. I'm trying to see if
Anybody? I need anybody.
Old Testament or New Testament?
it's New Testament.
Testament.
New Testament.
Anybody?
The moon. New
It was
Testament.
it was a major event. Come on, I gotta know
The
this.
birth. No. It wasn't.
All right. Luke chapter 23, verse 43.
Come on, read.
And it reads, And Yahushua said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, today shalt thou be with me in paradise. This
Right.
Yahushua on the cross. And it was about the 6th
Anybody
hour.
know what the 6th hour is?
Yeah.
What's the 6th hour? What time is the 6th hour?
6 o'clock.
No.
3 o'clock?
No.
Damn it. Wait, 12?
6 o'clock.
12.
12.
12 p.m.
Yep,
Well,
it
6 hours
is.
12.
Yep.
I thought it was 3
No.
o'clock.
The 0 hour is dawn.
That's crazy. I started thinking about military
Okay.
time.
So
Yeah.
6
Yeah,
hours.
it's
That's
12.
how they calculate. That's how they calculate the military time.
Yeah.
That's how they try to. They base it off of that. But it's 12. So now it was a 6 hours. So it was 12 p.m.
And it was about the 6th hour,
Right.
and there was a darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour.
Right. So it says it was a darkness over the earth from the 6th hour to the 9th hour. So from 12 p.m.
Three.
to 3 p.m. It was darkness. You understand? Read on.
And the sun was darkened,
The what?
and the sun was
It
darkened.
says the sun was darkened. So what's the only thing that can darken the sun that makes everything dark?
The moon.
Solar eclipse, yeah.
The moon. So that's why it says read that again, Ecclesiasticus.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 43 verse 6.
Right.
And a sign of the
It
world.
says, and a sign of the world. That solar eclipse, when the moon eclipsed that sun for that 3-hour time period. Read what happened after that. Go back to Luke and read what happened.
Luke chapter 23 verse 44. And it was about the 6th hour, and there was a darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was rent in the midst.
So when the veil of the temple was rent in the midst, that basically represented what? Because what was the veil of the temple? That's what separated the temple from the holies of the holies. So that's when the priesthood basically was taken away from the sons of Aaron, okay? And the whole nation became a nation of priests from that point. That's what that was symbolic for. The whole nation from that point became a nation of priests after Yahweh Shai. Because now it was finished. He went back to the Father. He became the sacrifice. So now the healing begins. Okay, the Most High accepted us because Yahweh Shai was that offering. But coming back to Yahweh Shai, the Levites were no longer in charge of the priesthood. We became a nation of priests. All right? Read on.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 43 verse 7. From the moon is the sign of feast.
Go back to Luke, please. Go back.
Oh, Luke. What's the lock? All right. Luke chapter 23 verse 46. And Yahweh Shai, I just read 45, that's why. And Yahweh Shai had cried with a loud voice.
So after this eclipse took place, then Yahweh Shai cried with a loud voice. The veil was rent in two. Yahweh Shai cried with a loud voice. Read on.
He said, Father, unto thy hands I commend my spirit.
Right.
And having said thus, he gave up the
So he
ghost.
gave up the spirit. His spirit went back to the Heavenly Father then. It was complete. The deal was done that Israel now was reconciled back to the Most High when this eclipse ended. You understand? Read on.
Now, when the centurion saw what was done, he glorified Yahweh, saying, certainly this was a righteous man.
So even the heathen knew. Even the heathen knew he was a righteous man. Read on.
And all the people that came together to that sight, beholding the things which were done, smote their breasts and
He
returned.
said, smoke their breasts. That's why they saluted Yahweh Shai for what he did. Because he was the Lamb of the Most High to purge away all the sins. So they gave him that respect. And so that's why we salute. We smite our chest. You understand what I'm saying? So go back to Ecclesiasticus and read that again.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 43 verse 6. And a sign of the
The
world.
moon is also used for a sign of the world. It's also used for the sign of the world. Everybody at that time when all these things were happening, you had a 3-hour eclipse of total darkness. And brothers would try to tell you, oh, that it could have just been a cloudy day. It could have been a cloudy day. You know how you know it could have been a cloudy day? It's simple. It could have been a cloudy day. It was a cloudy day today, right? You can still see daylight, correct?
Yeah.
The difference between it being a cloudy day and an eclipse, when the moon eclipses in front of the sun, that effect that the light has, because it's two lights canceling each other out, like how it is, it affects even the natural daylight.
Yeah.
It affects the natural daylight, and once it affects the natural daylight, what happens? What happens is everything goes dark.
Mm-hmm.
Everything completely goes dark.
Mm.
You
Mm-mm.
understand? Like they just had it well, it was a lunar last summer actually. It was over here. It was a partial solar eclipse.
Yeah.
But when you was in different parts of the world, you saw the total lunar eclipse. But even with a partial solar eclipse, they tell you don't look directly into it because what's going to happen is going to damage your eyes. It'll
Yep.
damage your retina.
That's why everybody was buying glasses.
You got to buy glasses.
Mhm.
But you
Yeah.
see what happened at a certain time point, it was dark.
Mm-hmm.
The darkness, because the way those two lights hit each other, what it does, it cancels each other out and even messes up the actual daylight. See, like right today, it was raining all day, but you still had daylight. You understand? The sun wasn't darkened, you still had daylight. The moon darkens the sun. That's why when you're looking at it, you're like, wow, the sun's going dark. And that's the key right there. It says the sun was darkened. The only thing that can darken the sun is not clouds. It has to be the moon. Read on.
Verse 7. From the moon is the sign of
It
feast.
says from the moon is a sign of feast. That's how we get our feast days when you deal with the moon. Like, and I tell people all the time, it's imperative that you know the feast days. It's mandatory that you know the feast days. And you should know the same way how you knew Christmas in the world. The same way how you knew Christmas in the world, you should know your feast days.
Right. And I want to make a statement too. When it says from the moon is a sign of feast, because, for example, 2 weeks ago, I was telling you, or confirming with this brother that the new moon was going to be tonight. Because after we got finished with camp, I looked up and you know what I saw? A full moon.
Okay.
And I know 2 weeks after a full moon is the new moon.
So that you know what, he just asked me that today. How do you this is before we even knew it was a new moon. You feel me? He was like, yo, how do you count the new moon? You feel what I'm
Right.
saying?
All you gotta do is when you see it as a full moon,
Count
2 weeks from that day, it's going to be a new moon.
And not only that, just start counting every day. Like the moon is dark right now. The moon, it's a dark moon, which is the full moon. I mean, it's the new moon. Like when you read the scriptures, when it refers to the first of the month, it says dark moon. It's a dark moon right now. You know what I'm saying? So how you calculate it is in 3 days, and then for 3 to 5 days, the first crescent's gonna come. Just count the days. Count the days. And like like I tell people, if you want to learn about the new moon, you don't gotta read a book. Like some brothers get certain things out of certain books that are
Just bugged out. Yeah.
When all you gotta do is the moon is here every day.
Right.
Look at that moon.
And Mataf, I gotta say something else. And notice it says from the moon is the sign of feast. It didn't even say from the new moon is the
Right.
sign of feast.
Exactly.
Because somebody will break this down incorrectly and say that the full moon is the new moon.
Right.
But if it's the new moon, that means it's a feast. It's
Right,
not
exactly.
a sign for feast.
Exactly.
It's a sign for feast. A full moon lets you know the new moon is coming.
Right,
All
exactly.
right, and guess what? And if the new moon coming, what month we in, and what feast day is coming that month?
Right, because I don't you can't misinterpret this as the full moon. It doesn't say full moon.
So it's
Right.
right to say feast days. The moon is the moon will let you know what feast day is coming. Basically.
Right. But
Yeah,
listen.
it let you know what month you in.
Like for example, it lets you know what month you in, so you'll know how to set up your feast days. But then, not only that, certain feast days are always going to be on a full moon. The Passover is always going to be on a full moon. The Feast of Tabernacles is
Always on
gonna
the
be
full moon.
because they both start in what? The 15th day.
Yep.
It's common sense.
And it's a feast day that all man must appear.
You know-
So now imagine if that major feast day that all men must appear was when the moon was completely dark. You talking about and imagine the world is in utter chaos.
Exactly.
That's the worst time to have a celebration like that. But now when you have a celebration in a full moon, everybody could travel and get there.
Exactly.
Ain't nobody doing no sneak attack and none of that stuff on you. Because guess what? We got the same light that they got to see at night.
Yeah.
You feel me?
You know, I was gonna say, like when we was over here roasting the lamb, remember? And it was dark outside. It was not dark, like it was like a blue light.
Right,
So
from
we
the
was,
moon.
remember it was Shayala, you and me outside, and it looked real
Yep,
pretty.
and we was out there roasting that lamb. But we're gonna keep reading.
The thing is, right, you know, when you understand the moon, you can understand the feast days. Like, it's not a lot of men that can name all the feast days and the dates when they fall. That's what you need to get yourself to that level. Like, if I ask you right now, when's the Tabernacles? Or if I ask the person right now, when's the Memorial Bowl of Trumpets, the days. See, I've been drilling brothers on this for years. For years I drilled brothers, and years, because you have to know these days like you knew Thanksgiving, like you knew Christmas, like you knew the 4th of July. You understand what I'm saying? And I'll drill brothers on it constantly and drill them until you get it into your spirit. Because one thing about our people, especially teaching our people, they always want a replacement.
Right.
Some people, right? They're like when they come out of that world, oh, why don't y'all celebrate Christmas? Why don't y'all celebrate Thanksgiving or Mother's Day? Well, you know why? Because they're pagan. But then we don't celebrate them not only because they're pagan, because the Most High set us up to have our own feast days. So that's the thing right there. So like you have to know the days, the months when they fall in, the days they fall on, how long they are, if they're week feasts or they're just one day feasts. You have to be able to break down what events occur on these days. Once you can break that down like that, then you know that you understand what I'm saying? You're good.
Right.
You're ready.
Right.
But it takes studying. It takes studying. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So
you want me to read that verse again?
Come.
Ecclesiasticus 43:7. For the moon is the sign of feast,
Right.
a light that decreaseth in her perfection.
It says it decreases in her perfection. Yeah, it decreases in her perfection.
Yep.
It increases and then it decreases.
Right. Like when
it's talking about the decreasing stage first. Though.
Right. Yeah. Because like, for example, like the new moon is one of the first feasts that you're going to encounter before any other feast. Because like, for example, the new year is going to be coming soon. What's the first feast of the year?
Passover.
The new moon.
The new moon, right?
it's the new moon.
But now the first feast is the new moon. But
Right.
now the first major holy day
is
the
Passover.
So how does this go in order? It's the new
Passover
moon,
and
Passover.
Right. Well, the new moon is every month.
See, the new moon
Okay,
is every
so
month.
the name of the new moon, we're just gonna say Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread, right?
Right.
So is that the same?
Right.
It's
It's
close to
two
the same
feast
time,
days. It's two feast days
Happening together at
happening together at the same time.
Oh.
The Passover is not a 7-day feast.
Passover is one.
Passover is the first day of the 15th month at sundown. The unleavened bread is a 7-day feast. The first day falls on the same day as the Passover, which is the first day of the 15th month to the first day, the 21st day of the month. That's the Passover. You understand?
Yeah.
Then in the second month, you have the day of Simon, which is the second month and the 23rd day.
Right.
But then somewhere in between, around the day of Simon is when you're having your barley harvest is coming in. So then you have to start to do the Feast of Harvest, which is called the Feast of First Fruits, you understand, or the Feast of Weeks. That's when once you cut, bring the sickle to the corn, it usually falls around the second month, toward the middle or the end of the second month. Once you do that, then you count the 7 weeks. And on the 50th day is what? The day of 50, which is the Pentecostal.
So it's odd.
Right. So we'll break down all of the feasts, you know. Let's get through the new moon for now. So verse 7. From the moon is a sign of
You
feast,
gotta write it down.
a light that decreaseth in her perfection.
So it decreases in her
I don't
perfection.
wanna take
The month is called after her name.
So it says the month is called after her name because the word month comes from the word moon. That's why it's saying the word month comes from the word month. Right.
Ah, that's crazy.
So the month is called after her name. You know,
Increasing wonderfully in her
but
changing.
it increases wonderfully in our changing because how it increases wonderfully in our changing, when you check out how to, because remember, it talked about the decreasing, right?
Right.
And I was talking about from the full moon on down. Now it's talking about how it increases wonderfully.
Right.
How does it increase wonderfully? When you check out the new moon or the dark moon, it's totally not lit. It's not lit. But then when they call the first crescent or the first quarter, which is the waxing gibbous, what happens is that little slither of the moon is lit. Every other part of the moon is dark. Then you got the first half of the moon, which only half of the moon is lit, and the other half is dark. You understand what I'm saying? So the other half is dark, and that half is lit. Then you got the full moon. The full moon is when a whole moon is illuminated. And then once the whole moon is illuminated, the side that was lit first starts to go dark first.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's called the waning gibbous, where just a slither of the moon was lit. That first slither that was lit, then that goes dark.
Mm-hmm.
Then half the moon goes dark. What half the moon goes dark? That half that was lit first.
Mm-hmm.
And then also it's the last quarter. And then after the last quarter, boom, the new moon comes in.
Yep.
Basically, it breaks down the sections, basically.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
It breaks down in sections. Like
So you'll be
even
able to count them.
like even when you look at it the way it's being described here, when it said decreasing in its light, right? When you see a full moon, you will see the light start decreasing.
Exactly.
So the new moon is coming up, and then it completely decrease till the moon is completely black. Then you got your new moon. Then it said increasing in her light. The moon, after it's completely dark and it's the new moon, then when it start going in later on, let's say like Passover, 2 weeks after that, it'll start increasing in its light. And then by the time the full moon comes, you got Passover. You know what I mean? Right, another feast then. So it's just letting you know in this scripture that the moon has different phases and it have its own light. You know, it decreases and increases.
Increases wonderfully.
Yeah.
But like the scripture says in Genesis go back to Genesis the first chapter.
You had it up.
Go back to Genesis the first chapter. It's just saying one thing. Read verse 18.
And to rule over the day and over the night,
Right.
to divide the light from the darkness.
Right.
And God saw that it was good.
And the powers saw that it was good. Because when you read in the Hebrew, it says Elohim, meaning the powers. And it's talking about the Most High in Christ. Because the Most High gave Christ the blueprint to create everything. You understand what I'm saying? So it's talking about the Most High in Christ. So it says, and the powers saw that it was good. When they saw that it was good, it was according to the way the Most High commanded them to go down. So that's what was good. So when it's talking about increasing and decreasing of perfection, all it's saying it was according to the Most High how He set it up. That's what it's saying. All right. So go back to Ecclesiasticus.
All right. Ecclesiasticus chapter 43, verse 8. The month is called after her name,
Right.
increasing wonderfully in her changing,
Right.
being an instrument of the armies above.
So it's being an instrument, one of the instruments of the armies above. The armies are what? The stars, the planets, the constellations that are out there, like the Milky Way, the galaxy. That's what it's going into. Read on.
Shining in the firmament of heaven.
Shining in the firmament of heaven. All right, come on. So let's finish that up. I'll get that fast.
All right.
7:45.
You about to go get that food? All right. And
7:45.
You're back right here?
Nah, come on, go to the front.
all right. So
Where were you looking?
we're gonna finish it up with a few more scriptures. Could somebody continue reading verse 9 for me?
The beauty of heaven and the glory of the stars and ornament giving light in the highest places of the Lord.
Right. So now, just like we read earlier about, the stars and all of that stuff, all of that is actually made for us to be able to tell times and all that stuff. We don't really need watches. Technology has actually disabled us. Because in ancient times, all you had was the sky. That was it. You would look into the sky and know, oh, well, we gotta navigate the boat this way because the North Star is this way. You know what I'm saying? You would look into the sky and know, hey, we in this part of the night because the moon is on this side of the earth. You understand? This was the original compass, the original clock, the original watch. You understand? That's what the sun, the moon, and the stars is actually for. Go to the book of Psalms, chapter 83. Actually, it's Psalms 81. And then after this, I'm gonna pull one more scripture, and then we're gonna leave it here because I'm not gonna give y'all all of the scriptures. But next new moon, y'all gotta, if we ask y'all to pull a scripture for the new moon, y'all gotta be able to give us at least one of these.
I'm out of here,
All right.
Psalms 81 and what?
81 and start from verse 1.
Sing aloud unto God,
Uh-huh.
our strength. Make a joyful noise unto God.
Right.
Jacob.
So the new moon is supposed to be a feast day. It's a day that we sing out loud. All right. Praising the Most High and things like that. You know, I was just telling my wife on the way over here, you know, like me, the reason why you won't catch me really drinking on the Sabbath like that, because if we not praising the Most High, then really it'd be like my own personal pleasure. You feel me? Now, we met a sister from Dominican Republic who knew she was an Israelite. And in her congregation, when the Sabbath was over, some of them would have a little drink or two, but then they also singing psalms and all kind of stuff, you know? So,
On the eating part, so they'll have the service or whatever, you know, the singing, the service, everything.
right.
And then, like, when the sun is down, like now, like if it was the Sabbath, they'll have the food and cooking and drinking and chilling and
Right.
time.
So, but my point in bringing that up, though, is, you know, Nasi Aleph and they church is good with the praise and worship part. We not really, we more like the studious part, you know what I mean? But keep reading.
Take a psalm
Wait,
and bring hither the timbre and the pleasant harp with the what's that?
Salvestry.
Salvestry.
Mm-hmm.
Blow up.
That's the instruments making music. You know what I'm saying? When you check out King David, man, he was into that music, man. The whole book of Psalms, most of those Psalms is actually songs that King David wrote. You know, he was the first original Tupac. You know what I mean? Without the rapping, the singing. You know what I'm saying? He was I don't want to say R. Kelly, man. That got too abominable. But, you know, as far as work ethic, because, you know, he make a lot of songs. Listen, King David was that dude, right? Keep reading.
Blow up the trumpet in the new moon.
In the what?
In the new moon.
So it said, blow up the trumpet in the new moon. All right, read on.
Blow up the trumpet in the new moon. In the time appointed on our solemn feast day.
Right, so it said on our solemn feast days. All right, we had to blow up the trumpet. We would blow the shofar horn, or a silver horn, or a gold horn, whatever horn you got. You'll blow it because it was pretty much a form of celebration, rejoicing, and also declaring to everybody like, yo, it's the beginning of the new month. Now we're going to go into the last scripture. Go to the book of Numbers, chapter 10, verse 10. Chapter 10, verse 10. And this is just to show you that this is a law. You know, we always got to take it back to the first 5 books of the Bible, the Torah. You know, the Torah. Psalms 10 and 10.
Numbers 10 and 10.
I mean, Numbers 10 and 10. The water.
Also, in the day of your gladness.
Like today is a day of gladness. You know, this is a celebration. All right, read on.
And in your solemn feast, I mean your solemn day.
When it says solemn days, it's talking about like pretty much like coming together and going over scriptures. Solemn is something that you consider sacred. So it's a joyous day and a sacred day. Read on.
In the beginnings of your month.
And the what?
The beginnings of your month.
So the new moon is the beginning of the month. The month is named after her. Read on.
Ye shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offering.
So we will blow the shofar horn, all right, and then throw food on the grill and all of that. All right, read on.
And offer the sacrifices of your peace offerings, offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your God. I am the Lord your God.
All right, hallelujah. So all
Hallelujah.
praise to the Most High. I pray that y'all got understanding of the new moon now, and we're gonna send up some prayers and sip on some yum and you know all that stuff, and eat some food. All right.
Guys, you know,
Shalom.
enduring is against the king, because as more brothers come around, that's when you really start